So it's day 240 of Hey, what are you doing today? And a couple random things to talk about. Not random, not the best word to use, but just a couple of things that I want to talk about today. The first thing just kind of came to me as I was walking out here to make the video, and that's every day for the last couple of weeks I've my routine has been to I take the Luna to work, and then on my commute to work, I listen to notes that I've recorded. I have a few different series of notes. I can pick and choose which one. So then once those notes are done, I take a second to stop and talk to the ether, or talk to God, or talk to whatever definition of the higher power that anyone prefers to use. I refer to it as talking to God, and I become very, oddly enough, I become very grateful. I become very thankful, and I've noticed that every day I've said thank you for this beautiful morning, and every morning has just been outstanding since I started. Every morning has just been gorgeous. Even a cold, rainy morning, all of a sudden becomes beautiful, and I become grateful for it. So I guess there's something to being grateful. Almost encourages gratitude, almost, and gratitude is something that for me it generates such a great feeling on the inside. It's almost like to be grateful for something is a benefit to me. I've never really thought of it that way, never really, but it does. Just stopping and being grateful generates a calmness, an energy, something has an effect on me as a person. But I was walking out here today. I mean, it's December 10th, and 60 degrees, sun shining, fresh air, just kind of that mountain air kind of feel. There's a slight chill in the air, but it's just totally uplifting. So grateful for another morning, and the other thing that I wanted to talk about was that some days I can tell an immediate change, an immediate step forward, a large step forward than where I was, the day before. And today is one of those days. A couple things happened yesterday. Sometimes things seem to me they seem small until I reflect on them, and then I realize what a big impact they are. But one of the things that I've started doing is I've started listening more, and it all comes down to trying to focus awareness, and trying to strengthen my awareness, and trying to strengthen my capacity for awareness and my abilities of being aware. And so I've been trying to listen a little bit more, and pay attention a little bit more. And actually yesterday I came across a line that says, a gentleman said, we don't learn while we're talking. We learn while we're listening. And it's in terms of it's always, in some regards, better to keep the mouth shut and ask a question and get a response. Be almost like a host to a talk show. The host to a talk show generally should talk considerably less than the guest, and try to I guess from what I was hearing, my interpretation was to kind of stay in that mindset of being the host, and asking questions, and then sitting back and listening and learning from the responses. But there were two elements. I'll start with the first one. I was listening to a conversation one of the managers here at my work was having, and he was with another gentleman who was in a management position at his job, and it was a very interesting kind of a a sparring of the minds, I guess. And I could hear, my manager backpedaling a little bit, and the other gentleman quickly gained the upper hand, but it was very interesting to see the responses. It's not a judgmental thing, not saying one person was stronger, one person was better. It was just interesting the way one person gained control of the situation and gained control of the upper hand, and had the other person kind of in a submissive position, in a submissive response. And it was interesting to see how one the gentleman was kind of picking apart the responses. He was acknowledging the responses and acknowledging, he was aware of different techniques that were being used in the conversation, and it was really good to hear, and something I would have missed had I not been paying attention. But that led into another element. Later on, about maybe an hour after that occurred, I was in a cafeteria setting, and that manager was talking with a couple of other managers, and he began talking about the situation and how things had occurred. And as I listened to him, as he explained how things had occurred, they were completely different than what I had witnessed. There were some elements, I shouldn't say completely different, but it was considerably different than what I had observed and heard. And it was interesting because I could note the embellishments. I could note, for lack of a better word, I don't want to say use a word as strong as lying, but it was an embellishment almost to the point of making up things that didn't occur, or totally twisting things around in a way. And as I listened to it, I realized that the whole benefit of retelling the story and embellishing it and changing it was to receive kind of an encouragement or a camaraderie with the other managers, and kind of generate that energy. And it just made me think, I'm guilty of it as well. I don't know if it's something in human nature to change and embellish stories and to make them more fantastic and more self rewarding than they really are. But to hear it and to be aware of it and to observe it really kind of lessened, it lessened the whole image that I had of everything, and it made me think, I don't want to embellish anymore. I don't want to add additional things that don't occur. I don't want to make up things that make me feel better. I don't want to I don't want to create that sense of ego and that stroking of the ego by creating scenarios that aren't real, by imagining additional elements to a situation. So that's kind of a new promise I've made to myself, is that life is life, and life is what it is, and as it occurs. And if I'm in a situation where someone else has the upper hand, that's only natural. It's only natural that's going to happen to me in some situation. And rather than embellish or encourage almost myself lying to myself to convince myself that things didn't happen, I would rather face it head on and be realistic about it and try to understand what the flaws were in it and try to grow from that. But it's I don't want to embellish stories anymore. I don't want to falsify anything anymore. I don't want to encourage that lying to myself in some ways. So it's something I thought about, and I thought about, wow, it's I've got several stories that I've embellished throughout my life, and some of them almost become believable as I tell them again and again. In their embellished form, their embellished fashion, I lose the reality of what really occurred, and the embellished story becomes a truth. But there's no value in it. I don't think. I don't see. For me, there's no validity to it, and I would prefer to, if it's a mundane story, keep it realistic so that I know I can trust myself, and help encourage that in my reputation, that other people can trust that what I say is real and what I say is true. There's no, I think the negative value in embellishment is much more impactful and much more hurtful to the situation. I need to be aware of that, and so it's there's no need to embellish anything. The other thing that came to me yesterday, and this is something that just seems like it's going to be very powerful. And it's one of those things that sounds very simple, seems very simple. However, now I'm going to try to put it in action, and I anticipate that it'll be considerably more difficult than I thought, or it could be amazingly easier than I thought. Um, yeah, I really don't know, because it's just a oh, a guideline at this point, but it's something that I want to make a part of my life, and it's the silliest thing. But that's if it's if it's something negative that I'm about to say, I want to turn it off. I don't want to say anything negative ever again. And it kind of comes back to another element, and that's gossip. Gossip serves nobody. Gossip serves nothing to talk about situations, complain about people. I recognize the poison element to that, and if something comes to me and I have a negative thought or a negative reaction, and I verbalize it, verbalizing it negative in a negative form or fashion never really seems to benefit anything anyway. So what's the, is there a point to it? But to any kind of negative vocalization. And so that's the new experiment, or new, there's so many different things that I'm trying and focusing on that are, coming from me right now. And even something as simple as talking about trying to be more observant, and trying to listen and pay attention, and trying to see things, and be aware of the world around me in a little bit different way. Now, the element of being aware of myself, and if something negative comes to me, I just need to just refrain from letting it out. Find another way to get it out. I was even thinking that maybe, if I have something negative to convey to somebody, perhaps I should learn to communicate with them so that the person recognizes the negativity, and that needs to be brought up, and they verbalize it that way. Doesn't create that conflict. It doesn't create that tug of war that comes from making some kind of negative comment. But the other element of it is on a deeper level, I think how fantastic it would be if I had no negative thoughts, no negative conversation whatsoever in my mind at any time. And that's considerably more difficult than my interpretation of it right now is that seems to me that it would be considerably more difficult than just stopping verbalizing and vocalizing anything negative. But that might be the first step to it, is if I make a promise to myself not to say anything negative, not to, if something negative comes to my mind, not to give it life, will that then enable me to turn it off at the point where it comes into my brain, so that there would be no negativity in my brain whatsoever, and that would be a fantastic thing. But at any rate, those two little things, I mentioned three things. If you incorporate also, there's just the gratitude, but that's something that's just something I wanted to mention, and just to be aware of it. But those two little things seem like they've made such a huge impact already in my morning, and perhaps the rest of the day, and perhaps the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of my life, if I pay attention to them closely enough. Uh, the stopping any kind of embellishment in what I say, in the stories and the things that I convey, eliminating any unnecessary falsehoods, and then eliminating any negative words that any negative emotions, that just eliminating that from vocalization, and not giving birth to anything negative vocally. But that's it. That's day 240. Hey, what are you doing today? Thanks.